favor by attempting to get rid of Stefan, the thorn in his side. There was no doubt that LaRue was every bit as powerful in prison as he was out of it. On the surface, sentencing him for his international crimes in France seemed good. The French prison system wasn't considered a place to coddle prisoners, but even with mold on the walls and water-stained slime trailing from the ceiling, Jean-Claude managed to appear wealthy and powerful. Every other prisoner gave him a wide berth until Stefan had come along. He goaded LaRue at every opportunity, and not one of the men paid to teach Stefan a lesson or kill him had succeeded. There was no doubt in Stefan's mind that given an hour alone with Jean-Claude, if he was free to interrogate him in his own way, he would have all the information the government needed. But here, in this French prison, with guards watching day and night and the government all too aware of their prisoner, he didn't have a chance to extract what he needed from the man. That left only one possibility. Jean-Claude LaRue had to escape. He sighed. He'd told his handler the same thing many times over the last 2 months. Stefan gestured toward the photograph-covered walls. "You have a lot of pictures, Rolex, but you sure don't have any letters. I think your woman is on that beach with another man, laughing her ass off." Jean-Claude replaced the photograph, his hands smoothing over the glossy paper. Stefan noticed with some satisfaction that the crime lord's fingers trembled when he touched the woman's face. "You do not see a man in any of these photographs, do you?" Jean-Claude looked him over with obvious contempt. Stefan knew he wasn't much to look at. He was tall with wide, axe-handled shoulders, a thick, muscular chest, and large arms with bulging muscles. He didn't look suave or wealthy or charming. He looked a brute, not very smart, with longish hair and lots of scruff. Scars webbed his skin, and his knuckles were calloused and shiny. He had a square jaw and dark blue-green eyes that looked straight into other men's souls and found them guilty. Stefan exuded raw power through sheer physical strength, and men like Jean-Claude automatically dismissed them as muscle and brawn, never looking beneath that surface to see if there was any intelligence behind the mask of a brute. In his mind, he used his real name, Stefan Prakenskii, as often as possible, because, truthfully, he had used aliases so often he was afraid of forgetting who he was. And maybe he had already, long ago, lost his identity. What was he? Who was he? And who really gave a damn anyway? There wasn't a beautiful woman standing on a beach looking sad, pining away for him, and there never would be. He was successful at his job because he refused to let women, like the one Jean-Claude obsessed over, into his realm of consciousness. He glanced again at the pictures covering the stained wall. There were hundreds of them. Jean-Claude had the woman under surveillance for a long time. She had changed little over the years the man had spent in prison, but he was right. There was no man ever photographed with her. Stefan cursed under his breath and turned away from the pictures. The woman would get under anyone's skin if you stared at her long enough. Really, what else was there to do in a tiny prison cell but notice her lips and eyes and all that long, glossy hair? Jean-Claude was feeding his own addiction, growing it into a monster, and Stefan had uncovered that weakness immediately and used it against the man, making him ripe for an escape. He didn't see other men with her in the photographs, but who could stand thinking about another man touching all that soft skin? "I will say this for you, Rolex. She is beautiful. Where the hell did you ever meet a woman like that?" It was time to change tactics. For the first time, Stefan allowed a little admiration to creep into his voice. Just as he suspected Jean-Claude couldn't resist the need to talk about his woman or respond to the first sign that a man such as Stefan, who only seemed to admire obvious strength, might respect the crime lord at least for his ability to attract a beautiful woman. "She was an art student studying in Paris," Jean-Claude said. "She stood outside the Louvre, all that long hair flying around her face. And she paused to scrape it back away from her face, and for just a moment—" He trailed off. Stefan didn't need him to say it. The crime lord had probably lost his breath, just as Stefan had the first time he'd looked at her photograph. She could easily have been a model on the cover of a magazine. Yet